Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our teaching Science During Pandemic and Important Pointers for Post-Pandemic Classroom. It is our greatest pleasure to welcome all of you to our simple webinar. You can call it a seminar, you can call it a mini conference where we are able to bring a few science passionate educators who are in this field who wants to share with you their learnings, their experience, and also listen from all of you, the audience, a little bit about what are the challenges in teaching science during the pandemic, and also what can we do now that we are finally ready to go back to school. And probably some of you may be still teaching in your classroom or maybe at home. So let us listen to what these panels have to say. At the same time, let us also try to get some feedbacks from all of you, the audience. We would like to apologize for the delay because of some technical issues we have in the Zoom room. However, we are very thankful that you are still patiently waiting for us. So I am Anutra Sirisena from Tenum Sabah, Malaysia. I am a chemistry educator teaching high school in a rural area in Malaysia. So it is our greatest pleasure to host and bring to you this seminar where we as science educators globally would be able to share and then support as well as implement new visions, perspectives into our pedagogical practices. So without further ado, allow me the pleasure to welcome one of our panelists, Mr. Barry Dewada, who will be giving you an opening remarks. So without spending much time delaying, let me just invite Mr. Barry to say hi to everyone and just welcome all of you. Mr. Barry?
Yes, thank you, Anutra. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I would like to share my experience, what I have done in my class. Thank you very much for Tenum Education Office for invite us to join all of you. And yeah, thank you very much, Anutra.
Yay, great, thank you, Barry. So without wasting our time, without just further delaying anything else we have, so I think it would be great if I could quickly introduce the panelists for today. So today we have three very experienced panelists. So Mr. Barry Dewada itself is representing Indonesia. Mr. Barry is actually a high school physics teacher who has been teaching for more than 12 years. He is very active in finding and venturing new ways of teaching science to students. Currently, he's attached to SMAN 1, Koto. What is that? Barry 6.
11, actually.
11.
Yes,
11
thank you.
Tarusan in West Sumatra, Indonesia. It was my pleasure to know Barry in one of our exchange program in the US back in 2013, and it's such a pleasure to be able to work with him today. And our second panelist comes from the Philippines, Mr. Jan Daryl Kasunkat. So Mr. Jan is attached with Education for All, Sustainable Development and Global Citizen Education Advocate. And he is the head of Science and Technology Department of Don Ramon E. Constales Memorial National High School. Pardon me if I made a mistake in pronouncing the names of the schools. Right, and of course, our last but not least, our third panelist is Iwata Sensei, Mr. Iwata Tomofumi from Japan. So he is a 9th grade science teacher specializing in physics in Konan Seibu Junior High School. Iwata Sensei is certified Microsoft Innovative Educator MIE Fellow of year 2020-2021. And he has demonstrated leadership and excellence in the MIE Expert program through coaching, mentoring, delivering presentations at conferences, and providing rich professional developments and to other educators. So it is my greatest pleasure to moderate this three-panel discussion, and I will try from time to time to actually share with you a little bit what's happening in Malaysia too. So without further ado, we will start with Indonesia. So let's welcome Mr. Barry.
So Anutra, thank you very much for the time. For the next couple of minutes, I would like to share my experience teaching science during pandemic era. And what I'm going to tell you, participants, is not not about the whole country. It's about what I have done in my classes. So since the pandemic, like almost 1 year ago, the schools were closed, and most of the teachers work from home. And I think it also happened in your country as well. And here I would like to share my presentation here, Anutra. Let me share my presentation with you.
That's great. Go ahead.
Yep. Hold on a second. What I'm going to explain all of you is not representing my whole country, but my experience during pandemic era as a physics teacher. So actually, I hope the screen is on now. Natra, can you see my presentation?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So I currently teach grade 12 in high school called SMAN 1, Koto 11 Tarusan, and in western part of Indonesia, in West Sumatra. And I've been teaching for about more than 12 years. And here I would like to share my experience. So during the pandemic, like 6 months ago, our schools are open for the half of our students, like 50% of our students are be able to go to the school, while the others stay at home, and we have shift our student week by week. So during the pandemic era, I use some tools to teach physics, and one of them is I'm using FETs. I know that most of the physics teacher all around the world know that FET is one of the most powerful tools to teach. And I would like to share with you what I have done. Before I go further, what kind of FET that I used in my classroom. The first step I picked is I chose the standard, the curriculum, which topics that suit these tools, this FET tool. Our government tried to simplify the curriculum because of the pandemic. I'm not sure in Malaysia or in the Philippines or Japan happens too, but in my country, because of the pandemic, our government tried to simplify the curriculum. So before the pandemic, like this semester, I have to teach like 6 topics, but in the pandemic, we only have to teach two chapters. So when I recognized this standard code, which is started in that semester, like 6 months ago, as the pandemic affect every aspect of our life, the Ministry of Education responded by simplifying the curriculum. So I picked one of the standard, which was electricity, specifically direct current. I know, Anutra, you already know that, the electricity topic, because you are a chemistry teacher. And after that, the second steps I took is find the simulation. So I went to the PHET website of the University of Colorado Boulder, and I found some tools that really powerful for my classroom. And I found some electricity's virtual laboratory, which can help me to teach that topics. And the third step that I would like to share with you is preparing teaching plan. So as I find tools, I would like to I did to adjust my teaching plan and decided to align my plan with the situation. I put some notes there to help me to teach using the PHET simulation, and go on. In the fourth step, as I decided to create a video, YouTube videos on my classroom, in my classroom, I prepare the storyboard. So in order to help me making the videos, I prepare the storyboard. This storyboard consists of what I'm going to tell in the videos. And actually, I didn't have experience making videos before, but the pandemic forced me to to create videos in order to meet my students' learning needs. And the fifth step, when I prepare the storyboard, I create a video using screen recorder. I use an application called OBS to produce the videos, and making the videos was started by recording my explanation based on my storyboard and then what is on the screen at that time. So when I'm ready with the videos, the next step is editing the video and upload it to my YouTube channel. While the videos and other materials are set, I started to edit the video. Some of the videos I put music background, which is non-copyright music. And the next step, I would like to share it to my students. I share it to some platform, and one of them is a learning management system provided by our Minister of Education. And on the learning management system called Rumah Belajar, which means that a house of learning, as they watch the videos, I asked my students to discuss the topic on the videos. On the learning management system, which is developed by the minister, actually it has 4 main features. One of them is virtual class, and I used that one when the pandemic, like 6 months ago. And the next step is I asked my students to develop their own circuit. So before that, as you can see here, in the second step, I tried to find which tool that suits my need to teach physics. And then in the step of number 9, I asked my students to develop their own circuit using their own smartphone after watching my videos that already developed and uploaded to YouTube. And the last step is I asked my students to upload the screenshot of their circuits. So when they work on their smartphone, by watching the videos that are made, I asked my students to upload their screenshot to the learning management system that already used to discuss and also to put the assignment there. And that is what I prepared for my pandemic. And the most challenging things that I found is something about student engagement. And I assume that some of the science teacher in the world also experience. But what I found is um, some of my students, not to say all of my students, some of my students told me that the duration of the video were too long, and they say that they don't have, like, it affects their engagement to the learning, even though I provided step by step learning in the videos. And yeah, that's what I found from my student. And I read some articles that some reports that an effective video learning was is about 6 to 7 minutes. But even though I already prepared for step-by-step tutorial videos in learning electricity, specifically direct current, but I have to work more to make sure that student engagement in my class is uh, really high, and hope that in next future I can deal with this issue. And I would like to hear maybe your experience in coping student engagement issue in your classes during pandemic area. Anutra.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. So great. So Barry, have you enabled sharing screen for the other participants as well? Yeah,
Yes.
I mean for us, because I can't share my screen as well. So I hope later you can just make sure our next presenter, Mr. Jen, can do so. And some of them are telling that they cannot stream through YouTube. It's disabled. Yeah, they want to watch this on YouTube. So while waiting for Barry to fix this a little bit, so audience who are in here, so if you have any kind of experience during the challenging time of pandemic, please feel free to share your chat, because I did see some of you were also sharing it here, saying that you also have similar effort, just like how Indonesia is, where you select a certain curriculum that suits for the pandemic lesson, and then teachers actually go by the selected curriculum instead of the original curriculum. That's what I understood. And another
Yes.
very important message that I learned from Barry's presentation is that teachers are forced to do something that you are not really comfortable with before. And this means new skills, new sets of pedagogical approach has enriched the life of a teacher. So it's definitely a blessing in disguise.
Yes, that's right.
So great. So let's keep hearing chat from the rest, while let us get Mr. Jan from Philippines to be ready for his presentation before we go into a forum. So Jan, are you there? Hi Jan, where
Hi.
are you? Yep. Can you share your screen? Yeah, right. So without further ado, I'll let you start. So while waiting for Mr. Jen, to all the participants in Zoom, when you have message, please do not direct message, because when you direct message, only I can read it. So do share the message for everyone so all of us can see your inputs. Yes, Mr. Daryl, it's yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, then your voice is very clear.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, my dear friends in Malaysia. Selamat Tanggi Hari. To our friends in Indonesia, Selamat Siang. To our friends in Japan, Minasan Konnichiwa. To our friends in the Philippines, good afternoon. To all and from all, good day. Today, I was tasked to discuss to you the experiences, issues, and challenges that the Filipino teachers, through our experience, have during the time of pandemic. So I will be referring to my discussion as normalizing the new normal, the Philippine science education towards post-pandemic era. To start it up, the Philippines is very focused on education. It gives emphasis on education. Basically, the mother law of the land give emphasis on the main objectives and aims of education through the 1987 Constitution, Article 14, Section 3, Subsection 2 of the Constitution. It states that all education institutions shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster love of humanity, respect of human rights, appreciation of role of national heroes and historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties and uh, duties and of citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and personal discipline, encourage critical and creative thinking, and to highlight it up to broaden scientific and technological knowledge and promote vocational efficiency. My dear friends, it was highlighted there the broaden scientific and technological knowledge. This phrase actually serves as the goal of the basic science curriculum in the Philippines. That's why here in next slide, let me just present to you that during the pre-pandemic era, we prefer to teach our students with different approaches. We used to have multi-interdisciplinary approaches. We used to have science, technology, society approaches, problem issue based, inquiry based. Some of these are still possible to do right now. However, due to the limitations and restrictions done by the pandemic, it is really hard and it's really a challenge. That is why, having been said that scientific knowledge and technological knowledge should be broadened, here serves as the main goal, which is to attain scientific, technological, and environmental literacy. How could that be possible? By simply through the approaches that we will be encouraging and we will be employing to our students, we could further see that our students could be able to demonstrate scientific inquiry of skills, understand and apply scientific knowledge, and develop and demonstrate scientific attitudes and values. Basically, we want to see and produce critical and creative problem solvers, responsible citizens, stewards of nature, innovative and inventive thinkers, informed decision makers, and effective communicators. My dear friends in the Asia Pacific region, let me just tell you that to cut the main purpose of the basic science curriculum is to come up with a genuine and holistic learner at the end of learning science. For the information of our friends in Southeast Asia, uh, we do have 6 years of elementary education, 4 years of junior high school education, and 2 years of high school. This senior high school, I should say. Now, why am I presenting this, my dear friends? Is that because you need to know that the formal science learning starts in the upper elementary, which is basically at the age of 8 years old. That's grade 3. So in the next slide, let me present to you that the sequence of domains in science per upper elementary grade level focuses on the same topics but of increasing difficulty as they go along the way. However, once they reach the junior high school, certain topics were jumbled according to the spiral progression as one of the characteristics of the science curriculum of the Philippines. I need to discuss to you this, my dear friends, so that you'll be able to understand how are we dealing with teaching science in the pandemic era. So I need to discuss to you first how do we teach science during the time that the pandemic is not yet around. In the senior high school, the science offered are for humanities and social science, accountancy, business and management, general academics, and technical and vocational courses. We do have earth and life science and physical science. On the other hand, for the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, these are the courses strengths to be found in the senior high school. The science subjects that are present are including general physics 1, general biology 1, general physics 2, general biology 2, general chemistry 2, and research. The point here is how are we going to teach these subjects in the time during the time of pandemic. So let's move on. Okay. So before the pandemic arrived, we do have certain reforms in the education that is initiated by our very own department, the Department of Education. And through that, uh, it uh, how should I say this? The reforms actually provided certain improvement in the educational system. On the other hand, uh, let's see. Uh, okay, reforms in basic education. On December 3, 2019, the Department of Education established this framework called Sulong Edukalidad, which is the battle cry of the Department of Education. What is this Sulong Edukalidad? This Sulong Edukalidad actually aims to uh, review and update the curriculum that we do have in the Philippines, including other subjects, not only science, improve the learning environment of, improve the learning environment. Teachers should be skilled and reskilled, so it has something to do with the trainings of the teachers, engagements of stakeholders for support and collaboration. So there has already been reforms in the Philippine educational system. So as with science education, before the pandemic arrives. So going back with the goals of the basic science curriculum framework, which aims to create learners that are geared towards, uh, how should I say, to be a good citizen in building up an environment or a Philippine that is sustainable. Due to the pandemic, there are several factors that have been affected, and one of which is the quality education. How did the Department of Education respond to this? Basically, through the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. This is the plan that was cascaded to us by the national government through the regional level of organization down to the division. And then here at the field, we are implementing. So how do we do that? All of our actions in the Department of Education are guided by certain legal bases, and we cannot simply go beyond that. The basic learning continuity plan includes 5 principles, and I will be discussing to you one by one. So one of the pillars of principles of the basic continuity plan, learning continuity plan, is that to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel, and prevent the further transmission of COVID-19. For the well-being of learners, the teachers and the heads of the departments and the schools were mandated to attend certain trainings for the mental health issues and the like. More than that, the attendance, the records and attendance of the teachers, the records of attendance of teachers were actually included in this, so as to referring to the alternative work arrangements, so that in the long run, teachers will not be really affected by the certain reasons on the transmission of COVID-19. So second principle is that to ensure that the K to 12 curriculum adjustment, uh, For science, the learning competency presented, learning competency for the information of our friends are the standards that must be met at the end of the school year. So it has something to do with the presented objectives and the like. So there are actually 284 learning competencies for science, for the basic science, basic education sciences, and it was reduced to 187. So to calculate the percentage, 66% were left. And these 66% is called the most essential learning competencies. These competencies are being taught during this time of pandemic, the 66%. So what are the things that we did in compliance to the basic education learning continuity plan? We align our learning materials uh, prescribed through the prescribed most essential learning competencies. We create our student learning materials. We communicate through our superiors and have them correct and see to it that everything is are actually aligned to the prescribed most essential learning competencies. So deployment of multiple learning delivery. In the Philippines, we do have different learning modalities, learning delivery modalities. So we have actually deployed the different multiple learning delivery modalities through by means of going to places and by means of following the directives that were cascaded to us. So as to our school, we have followed and showcased the following. I can no longer show you enough. Let's move on. So, how do we teach? How do teachers teach? Our teachers teach based on the um, how can we gauge the performance of teachers during pandemic? Through RPMS alternative classroom observation. One of which is learning action cell demonstration teaching. We let our teachers demonstrate a particular most essential learning competency. We let our co-teachers be the students so that in the long run, even though there is pandemic, they can still execute and demonstrate what they have learned and what they have acquired. Uh, Another thing is that teachers are actually doing recorded video lessons that are actually given for our students through the asynchronous type of learning. Then we do have also online teaching. So our teachers who have conducted online teaching do have this communication among the students so that they can be able to provide the necessary inputs for a particular topic and so on. Okay, so provision of corresponding training for teachers and school leaders. So teachers and school leaders are actually mandated to attend, of course, some of the trainings. Depending on the prevailing circumstances that are hereby inherited in a particular place. Okay, one of the mandate of BELC CP is that we need to orient our parents and guardians uh, by means of telling to them what are the learning delivery modalities. And I am very happy that my master teacher by the name of Mr. Jerry Artamayo mentioned, are you here, Sir Jerry? He's here. Okay, so they were able to cascade and inform the parents on what learning delivery modality is best suited for the kids. And of course, uh, some of the students do not have gadgets. Some of the students do not have internet. Some of the students are not that rich enough. Our Department of Education come up with certain innovations on how these problems and issues can be solved. So one of which is that the creation of the DepEd Commons, wherein the students could be able to download series of books in science and the like and all of the subjects. Another thing is that the Department of Education through the Office of the Undersecretary of Administration were able to provide us technological platforms wherein learning is still possible in the absence of uh, face-to-face interaction. So I guess I was able to catch up the 10 minutes. Okay, so how are we going to resolve issues? Is there any possibility that in the future we'll be able to come back into a new normal setup? My dear friends, this data is very important. Okay, in the West Pacific region, as of April 9, this was yesterday, 10 a.m. Metro Manila. The cases that we do have in the Philippines is actually getting bigger and getting higher and higher. So, what are we going to do? We cannot simply come up with that decision of pursuing education without considering these prevailing circumstances that we do have. That is why, based on the existing legal basis, based on the existing rules and issuances that we do have from the Department of Education, still we are following them. That so that uh, we can still continue to provide quality education to our learners, even though the prevailing circumstance is actually restricting us. Uh, so that's it. So it's really a challenge, my dear friends. It's really, really a challenge. And hoping that you guys in the Asia Pacific region, in Southeast Asia, join hands with us Filipinos to pray for our country as well, so that we will be able to at least uh, overcome the challenges that we do have. And again, to end it up, the future of the world is really in the new normal class that we do have today. Let us continue serving with excellence and compassion towards a better normal. My dear friends, let me borrow the statement of our director of the International Cooperation Office of the Department of Education. Being different is really difficult, but it takes one brave soul to make a difference. Once again, good afternoon. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Mr. Jen. It was such a great sharing, and it is quite very informative for non-Philippines. So we know that what the Education Ministry has been doing uh, in the root cause of pandemic and the kind of modules and the kind of equality you are trying to reach in education gap that we have. And what was very interesting is that you also touch on how teachers teach asynchronously and synchronously. You don't really have to teach at a specific time, at a specific moment, but you give flexibility to educators around the world in your country to be able to cater to the need of the students, which was something took us some time. In Malaysia, when we started to be locked down in March last year into 2020, when all of us couldn't go to school at all. So what the first thing teacher was shocked with is, number one, how do we reach our students because of the access, right? No internet, no tools, and so on. And we really struggled a lot at that point of view, because it's not some student, but quite a major number of students didn't have access to internet and gadget. And then we also struggle with teachers trying to understand how to actually teach in the new normal. And I think today we all have something to say. We all have gone through a great experience. So before we go to Iwata Sensei, I think it would be good if we can hear what do the District Office of Tanam Sabah, Malaysia has to say to all our participants and panelists as a warm welcome, and also to actually give a little bit of perspective from the education department itself before we continue with sharing from Japan. So Barry, are we ready?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you see it?
Thank you to our moderator on floor today, Teacher Anutra. Good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen who are with me today. Let me start this with a quote. Knowledge is increased by sharing, not by saving. Thus, I'm offering my biggest gratitude to all of you, the panels who have agreed to come together and share your expertise with us in this seminar. Your present today really will help all of us today. I would also like to sincerely thanks all the educators who attend this event today. This really shows how passionate all of you to learn something new from our panelists today. May this session be fruitful for all of us. When COVID-19 was officially declared as our nation emergency in March 2020, we were all forced to stop everything we do and stay locked
Nag-drive.
in our respective home. The Education Ministry
Unsa man di
closed
iyang
schools and all of
driver?
us enter a new realm of teaching and working. Everyone was in shock and has no clue how long will this situation be going on. The Malaysia Ministry of Education had then come with various alternatives to make sure the students will still can continue their study from home. Teachers are the main force in this effort. Remote teaching took so many twists and turns, and here we are today. The Global Education Census 2018 by Cambridge Assessment International Education have found that Malaysia teachers are among the most dedicated toward their job. Despite the challenges and inequality teachers fell through this pandemic. Kudos teachers. As the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. This pandemic had actually brought some positive impact toward our teachers. Teachers are now more confident in handling technology and more open to try and explore new knowledge. Teachers are now the knowledge to present their lesson in medium they had never used before, such as Google Form, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, to name a few. Teachers demonstrate high flexibility in terms of how they present their lesson to their students. Their creativity is limitless as they have to think way beyond the common practice to make sure that students can continue to excel even during the pandemic era with all the restrictions. Thus, we are hoping that today's forum is a success and will be fruitful in opening our teacher minds to various ways of teaching science in post-pandemic era after a year of lockdown. We also hope that this forum will be stepping stone in creating more space for teachers to continue to share their best practices with each others and collaborate in the future for the better education for all. Thank you and happy conferencing. Back to you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Ridwan. It was the address from the Tenem Education Officer Head in conjunction to the forum. So we really hope that teachers around the world who is here will be able to benefit from this sharing. So without further ado, let us now listen from Iwata Sensei from Japan. Iwata Sensei, are you ready?
Yeah. Hello everyone. Can you see me? I'm not good at speaking English. It's poor English, but forgive me. Please forgive me. My name is Tomohumi Iwata. I'm science teacher in Japan. Today, I would like to talk about this title with my practice. In Japan, the school was temporarily closed. However, by slowly taking a measure against infection diseases, the school was able to resume. First, let's confirm what is important in teaching science. There are three conditions for science to hold: universality, objectivity, and theory. Objectivity means that things are not subject to subjectivity. Universality means that it's held without exception anytime, anywhere. Theoretical means that the claims are coherent and there is no contradiction in theory. What you must value in science teaching: real touch learning setting with hands-on experience, creating the theoretical competitive environment. Science learning is learning based on real life. Therefore, no matter how advanced the technology is, and it becomes possible to experience it virtually, it is necessary to experience what is actually happening. But what we couldn't do due to influence of COVID-19, there are many things that cannot be done. Science learning is no exception. The important things in science teaching I told you has also been loved. The above items are important activity in science learning, but they can no longer be done to prevent infectious diseases. And many laboratory equipment are delicate and cannot be easily disinfected. I would like to make 3 recommendations. What you can't do isn't something you don't have to do. We need to continue exploring the possibilities, using technology and turn it into something you can. Stop looking directly into the lens of microscope. Let it look into the web camera and project that situation on the tablet PC. The Science Museum is a great place to master science learning. It is very difficult to focus, but you can observe it. This is web camera. This made it possible to observe with a microscope and to see the microscopic world. Web cameras are easy to obtain and often inexpensive. So I bought about 8 and let the student use them. The Science Museum was also affected by COVID-19 and restricted visitors. The Science Museum has a lot of teaching materials, but has a lot of opportunity to show them. The school did not have many specialized teaching materials, so it overcame the crisis by collaborating with the Science Museum. Please see the actual illustration with photo and videos. あれ、流れてないか？あれ、これ再生できてない感じかな。Sorry, this is Science Museum side. This is in my class. So Science Museum staff told me, teaching me fossil. Each student took a fossil set in and joined in a collaborative class with Science Museum. At school, we couldn't prepare fossil set for the number of people, so we asked the Science Museum to prepare them. We had a commentary on fossil with the staff of Science Museum online. We use the power of technology to solve the problems. This is my student. Creating laboratory equipment was difficult, but it was an effort to improve the ability of teachers. You can make a simple power supply by using microbit and Arduino. If you make a waterproof thermometer, you can easily make a data logger that measures the temperature. By making a lot of replacement laboratory equipment, you can experiment without common using. We believe that teachers must constantly study for the development of science education. That is why I feel that it is necessary to share information in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Iwata Sensei. What a great sharing it was. So I believe the educators around who are in this Zoom meeting, about 150 participants we have, you must have also a lot of things going on your mind. So one thing that I was very attracted to that I didn't really thought of is actually to collaborate with the Science Museum. I mean, like before the pandemic, we always think about like, it would be nice to bring the students for a visit, but it's so far away. Fine. So what we can do is virtual tour. I did try some virtual tours and also to get students to actually watch some video clips and stuff. However, teaching fossils, we do that in Malaysian science for grade 7. We have an introduction to fossil. So I was thinking, wow, that's so interesting if we can get our science museum to actually help. In fact, it doesn't have to be from our own country. We might as well just try to write in to any country at all, because with technology, this is going to be possible. It is such a great eye-opening sharing there. And another thing that I find very interesting from Iwata Sensei's presentation is also the use of microbit and Arduino as a data logger. So many of us science teachers probably feel a little bit scared about coding, a little bit of programming. However, microbit and Arduino is something that we can learn like ABC. So I think science educators, it's time for us to embrace technology in a more deep way, not just buy things and use, but actually to put them together like DIY kit and try them out. And I think that is a really good thing here. So thank you very much to all the 3 presenters. So before we go into our next agenda, we have about 25 minutes left. So in this 25 minutes, what we will be doing is, I find so many interesting chat pointers in our chat box. And also I would like to carry out a simple survey, if I may share my screen, Barry, so that we will get a short poll from our participants today. And then we will be able to continue with our discussion on what can we do now. Now that we have some ideas and suggestions, and we also know the current situation in Philippines, in the Indonesia, in Japan. So what can we do? So that's the thing that we are interested in. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay. It's suddenly.
Yes, you're good to go, Anitra.
Yeah, okay. So for this sharing, I would like to invite teachers to go on Slido. I don't know if you are used to it, but wait, let me just quickly share my screen. Share Slido. Okay, I think you can see my screen now. Right, so can you just go to slido.com, and then you just have to put in this number in 891290, just to give you some time to, take a break, your toilet break, or you want to drink some water, and then you can just simply scan this QR code as well and go into this simple survey, just so that our panelists will have some ideas of what kind of discussion we need for the next 20 minutes. So it will be even more profound based on the participants we have, the educators we have in this meeting room. So everyone good to go? Participants, can you please respond on the chat so we know that you're okay? Let's see. So if you are in, okay, so I would like to just ask you the first question. You may think it's pretty similar, but it's not the same. So what do you think teaching science during pandemic is? Was it challenging? Was it difficult? Was it normal? Did you feel helpless? I couldn't do anything. It's difficult and I couldn't do anything. That's helpless. And challenging and difficult probably is difficult because you need a lot of new sets of skills. It's challenging because you have the skill, but you are challenged to a next level of how to deliver that skill. So it's really not an easy take on this. So yeah, very interesting to see how the poll is working. So we can see that no one thinks it's normal. No one thinks it's normal. It's okay. Everyone thinks it's challenging and difficult, but it's more challenging. It's more challenging. We have about 44 participants answering. We'll wait for another minute or so, and we'll go to the second question. And then we will resume our discussion for today. So we have, okay, come on, we have 150 participants, so I think we can go up to 100. I hope everyone has good internet access. If you are in the Zoom room, your internet is pretty stable. So, yeah. 150. Oops, sorry. It's rating. Okay. So let us go to the next question then. So what do you think, teachers? This is what we are more interested in now. So what do you think we can do in post-pandemic? Means now that I think Philippines are going to still stay at home, Jen? Our students not back to school, right? In the Philippines?
We're not yet back.
Yeah. Indonesia?
Can science teachers?
Yeah, we already 50% of our students is already at school, and on July we're going to open the school for all of the students. after the teachers' vaccinations is already done.
Okay. I think Japan students are back to school. I spoke to Sarah and I have some idea.
More time.
Yeah. And for Malaysia, we just got back to school in April. Yeah. The primary students, the lower elementary school students came back in March, and high schools and middle school came back in April. So we are back to school, and teacher vaccination is in progress as well. So let us see what the audience think about what we have. Only 15 people have answered so far.
Very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, so we can see how they view what we can do. It's interesting. Keep coming, because this will be a very good way for us to move forward with our discussion. So be creative, resourceful, interaction, collaborate, innovate, explore, innovate, creative. So we can see that we need to compromise. Blended learning, yes, very true. Continue getting feedback, and I remembered what Barry was saying, that we have to learn, we have to keep learning. There's no way we can stop learning. And Iwata Sensei was saying that that is why I used this presentation today, because he wants to show that we as teachers have to use technology in the first place. We don't just tell people what to use technology. And how Ms. Jen was talking about, this is not going to end now. We cannot wait for this to end. This is the new normal. It is going to be the kind of teaching that we have to embrace. Even when students are able to come back to school, learning and teaching is no longer going to be how it was a year ago. It's definitely not going to be. So with that, I think we have a great inputs from our participants. As all of you can see, these are some of the suggestions that our participants have. So let us now listen to what kind of suggestion our panelists has. So yeah, so let us continue with Barry. Barry, do you want to? So how do I stop share? Yeah, okay. So Barry, I'll let you, Barry, Iwata Sensei, and Jen, any one of you can go first. You can just like talk like a very informal discussion of what you think we're going to do now. Our students did not do laboratory. They were not in science lab for so long. What can we do now that they are back to school?
Yes, thank you, Anutra. Yeah, that was very interesting to see how our participants are really active on our chat room. I read most of the chat that our participant wrote in our chat room. And I noticed that in the future, like for myself in Indonesia, like our government tried to open the schools on next July, which means in a couple of months ahead. And since the students are already in the school, full of them, all of them are in the schools, it seems that we're going back to our pre-pandemic like before, but actually we still have a health protocol, like our government tried to ask schools to not ask our students to have the same tools on the laboratory, use the same tools on the laboratory, or they're doing like physical education on the field, but do not use the same ball. Like it's like what our science teachers are asked to do. Like we don't we can't use the same tools at laboratory. So as a teacher, we have to adjust what we're going to do in the next couple of months. Like in my case, my plan is force my students to do project-based learning using technology, like virtual project-based learning. Virtual project-based learning means that using technology to help my students to do their project, like a 1 week project or 2 weeks project virtually. As I know that they are a Z generation, which means that they're already a native of digital tools. My student, like I said before, they are about 15 to 18 years old, which means they are a teenager, and they are really into technology. As a science teacher, I think the main point what I'm going to do in the next semester is try to force my students to do, like I said before, project-based learning using technology, like to do collaboration using, let's say, Google Classroom or another learning management system like Rumah Belajar that I am the ambassador. Another else is would like to ask my students to communicate using technology like video conference or another platform, and would like to ask my students to do a project who enhance their critical thinking, like how do they solve the problem around them. That is what I'm going to do in the next couple of months. Anutra.
Great, great, great. How about the other panelists? You can just talk if you have anything to add. Iwata Sensei or Jen, anyone?
Yeah. As a teacher, I was regretted that I couldn't let the student experience it directly. Today's advanced technology makes the impossible possible. The practice I did was meaningful to students. So even if pandemic is still, I would like to continue to create lesson in collaboration with the education facilities such as science museum and planetariums.
Iwata Sensei, can I ask you a question? I mean, you say that technology makes impossible possible, which is it's something we all really believe in. But I think a lot of teachers, our problem is students have no access to technology. Does that happen in Japan?
Mm. どう答えようかな。Yes, so almost all teachers use technology. 違うな。all of most of teachers cannot use technologies in Japan. But me or 畑さん、ここちょっと英語訳お願いしていいですか？
もちろんです。
はい、日本では確かに、テクノロジーを使いこなす先生は少ないです。だけど、私であったりとか、私と同じようなレベルの先生が先導して、今、まさに日本の教育を変えようとしているところです。なので、この1年後、2年後には、日本の教育のレベルが ICT を使うことによって、飛躍的に向上するんではないかなというふうに期待しています。
Great. How about the students? I mean, if teachers who cannot use technology, they get support from other teachers who are familiar with technology. But how about students who have no access to technology? Does that even happen in Japan, or all students have access to technology?
ほとんどの生徒が今、スマートフォンや自分のデバイスを持っていることが、このパンデミックで分かりました。そして、生まれた時から、それがあるような環境の中で生活しているので、私たち大人よりも、ネットやデバイスを、使いこなす生徒は非常に多いです。ですが、まだまだ未熟なゆえに、情報モラル等がなってない部分があるので、扱い方に関しては拙い部分はあります。それが、今後の日本の教育の課題ではあるかなというふうに思っています。
Okay, great. Yeah, because of our students who are in this era. How about other teachers, participants? You can give us your input of how your students are surviving with this, because since Philippines, students are still going to stay at home, right? I think the other 3 countries, our students are coming back to school. So what are valuable techniques and tools inculcated? So problem is still that we don't know the moral. Okay. Right. So basically, that's why the Japanese kids are already back in school. I think Indonesian and Malaysians are too. So Jen, so for Mr. Jen, my question will be, thank you, Hata Sensei. The question for Mr. Jen will be, now that Philippines are going to still stay at home, so what do you think is the best way to move forward with remote teaching? You have tried so many things and experimented so many things for the past 1 year. So now that you have to still stay at home, so what would you suggest the teachers to continue doing?
I think Jen has a technical issue, and
Oh, okay. So he is
I'm back.
probably.
all right, he's back.
Okay.
Finally, yeah.
So Jen, did you listen? Did you hear my question?
Pardon, please.
So let me repeat it, so that now that we have established that all of us are, our students are back to school except for the Philippines. So what would be your take and advice for teachers to continue teaching remotely, because you have learned through failures and success story throughout this 1 year. Yeah, so Jen?
Actually, my teachers are all here. They're actually innovators in their own rights. They have actually created so many learning materials, specifically modules and student learning materials for alternative education. So I guess they will still continue to do that. That is a big take for them. So for the students, at the same time for their professional growth as well. Thank you.
All right, great. So meaning to say, what I would be able to, if I would to summarize what we have listened from all the panels, is that for remote teaching to continue to happen, every aspects of learning should be taken into account. Teacher should be trained, continually supported, and those who have better technology can help and support those without much. I mean, like Japan is a developed country. Even Mr. Iwata Sensei was pointing out how the teachers don't really use technology that much. Probably technology is part of their daily life that they don't realize they're using it. But then for us in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, we pretty much have the same demographic, where the students don't really have access to technology and internet as many as those in Japan. But for those who have, we maximize learning. For those who don't, we prepare offline materials where we have modules. We also have, I can see a chat saying that how the Filipino government and the ministry is helping students, providing funds to install free access and so on. So these are some great efforts done by all the countries to support their students, as well as how Barry was advocating Rumah Belajar, where they actually learn at home. And they have teachers who actually come and support learning remotely. So I think if I were to give my last final say to this, it will be that post-pandemic classroom is going to be more challenging than pre-pandemic classroom because our students are coming in after a year of doing everything remotely. So when students are back, certain skills should be given more emphasis. And then when students are continue staying at home, then we need to support them more with what we already have, so that teachers don't feel too pressured, and students also get something from it. So I think we already have the post-seminar survey there. Okay, so we would like to invite all the audience to fill in the post-link seminar before exiting the seminar. So Barry, Iwata Sensei, Jen, do you guys have anything to say as a last message before we close the session? Last message.
Thank you, Anutra.
Short one. Yeah, very short one.
Yeah, very short. Okay, I noticed that. Yeah, we had a great conversation here. I'm honored to be here, and we would like to have another session in the next future. We would like to Anutra join work together in the future, particularly whatever subjects do you teach. I would like to learn from your experience, like what Mr. Jander said before, that teacher collaboration is one of the, I think, most powerful activity to enhance our classroom and to heighten the learning outcomes of our students. And would like to hear from other participants, maybe, Anudra, who are keen to join us in the next future. I would like to say that technology cannot replace us as teacher, but technology can make our work more effective and helps us to manage our work better if we can use technology. Thank you, Anudra.
Thank you, Barry. Jane, do you have something
Uh,
to say?
I will not miss this opportunity to thank you, Ma'am Anutra, for this opportunity. This is indeed a great collaboration among us in the ASEAN region. So as we the participation of Sir Iwata Sensei, and of course, we would like also to give credit to Sarah Hata. Thank you very much for the collaboration, Sarah. I would like also to say thank you to the Office of Tenom District of Education, Mr. Moda Rodhin bin Yusuf. And of course, to all of you, thank you very, very much. We are hoping for more collaborations. I guess my teachers will be are willing to collaborate again, collaborate with you as well. Thank you and thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Iwata Sensei, thank you, Jen.
Yes.
Any final message for the
Yeah.
audience?
As I said earlier, we must always continue to exploring possibilities because we can do more things by devising and taking measures. That is why I feel that is necessary to share information in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Iwata Sensei. So to wrap up everything is that just like how Barry was saying, let me just add on a little bit. Technology will never replace us as educator, but better teachers with technology will replace teachers without technology. So I think this is a very important message that all of us have to take it into our heart and let us collaborate more, support more now that we have known each other, so that future collaborations and future seminars will be able to be even more fruitful and help us make this a more resourceful webinar and seminar. So with that, thank you very much. Terima kasih. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you.
Thank you. ありがとうございました。
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Indri, thank you, Indri.
Thank you, Kak Berry.
Thank you to our speakers.
Indri.
Hi, Darrell. Hi.
How are you?
I'm so
Where-
fine.